Okay, let's see if it worked this time. Giuseppe, you were able to get in, so can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hmm. So I just did the whole introduction and it seemed like it didn't record me or I don't know what happened. Something went wrong. Okay, but it looks like it's working now. Um, let's do this. First, let me give you the link. For those of you that are out there, you can click on that link in the chat window. And let's start with the questions. And then if anyone joins us, I don't know what's going on. It's unbelievably quiet today on Friday, so that's kind of strange. Is there a holiday somewhere in the world, Giuseppe? What's going on?
Well, in Italy it's not holiday, but
Maybe this is
people.
International Don't Take English Class Day. Maybe that's what this is. This is, I don't know. I'm not sure. Well, maybe if we look like we're having a good time, people will join us, right? So try to laugh a lot. Ha 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 ha. Try to be cool. There you go. See? We got to attract visitors. Um, let's go back to our questions first. Hopefully, Anatoly is just taking a bathroom break because it would be nice to have both of you here for the questions.
Anatoly is here.
All right. So,
Ah,
he's back.
I'm here.
Fantastic. I was worried. I was worried, but you're here. Okay. I didn't. I didn't spend a lot of time with the vocabulary. Just some big words, but not a lot, because I thought it was more important to read it. If there's any questions about any of the vocabulary, just ask. Okay? I assume that everything is pretty clear, but there was some pretty heavy vocabulary in the article. So if there's any questions, just ask. Okay, but in the meantime, while you're thinking of your questions, let's go to the comprehension questions. Let's make sure we can answer these so that we really get the gist of the article. What is the startling medical experiment that patients may find themselves enrolled in according to the article? That one goes to you, Giuseppe. Can you give me a succinct answer? What's the startling medical procedure, Giuseppe?
Uh, well, the article started.
Giuseppe?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Startling. Startling.
Startling. Startling.
I hear you fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, from a standpoint of startling medical experiments, in this case, the procedures makes the involve to the patient to drain the blood and replace it with a solution of a salt water solution, which makes the body which makes the body lose temperature and
I could give you an even more succinct answer.
okay.
I could give you an even more succinct answer. The startling medical procedure is that they kill you, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's the procedure. To kill you and get enough time to come up
Yeah,
with
basically they kill you.
temporarily temporarily kill you.
Right. By the way, this is temporarily, well, hopefully, but it might do more than just it might do more than just by them time. It might cause permanent brain damage, right? So there's a lot of things that could go wrong. By the way, there's a very famous case. Tell me if you've heard about this one. There was a woman, I can't remember what she did for a living. Um, I think that she was a researcher. I can't remember the details because it's something I saw in a documentary a long time ago. But I think she was a researcher or something like that, and she was studying the Arctic or something like that. I can't remember the details. But anyway, long story short, she was doing some kind of well, anyway, I don't know. She was scuba diving or what she was doing, or she just had an accident, but she fell into the icy Arctic waters. She didn't have protection, and she got trapped beneath the ice. Um, and there was a whole documentary about, or she was featured in a documentary about this kind of thing, like what the article is about. She was trapped under the ice, and she literally couldn't get up to get oxygen. But what happened was she was so cold that she went into this suspended animation, like in the article. So she was under the water for nearly an hour before they were able to get her body out of the water. And when they did get her body out of the water, um, they brought her to the hospital, they resuscitated her, and in the documentary that I saw, she was describing everything. She was talking about it perfectly normal. She had absolutely no damage, no perceptible damage, and she returned to her job in that location too. In other words, she she was without oxygen for 60 minutes. Your brain can't go more than about 3 or 5 minutes without oxygen, but she was able to do it for 60 minutes, and then she returned doing her normal activity. So it's just something I remember, so I'm sharing with you. So this should work in theory. This should work in theory. I don't have the link, but if I can find the link, I'll send it to you. It was an interesting documentary. Um, okay, Anatoly,
Mm-hmm.
where is the clinical trial taking place?
In Pittsburgh, in the University of Pittsburgh Medical
Right.
Center.
And what makes Pittsburgh a good place for the trial? According to what we read, what do you think makes it the right place to do it? The right place for this experiment, I mean. What do you think makes it the ideal place? Like, why not do it in Albuquerque, New Mexico? What makes Pittsburgh a better candidate? Any ideas from the article? You have to be a little creative now, but if you extrapolate a little bit, in other words, if you read...
Maybe I'm not sure, but Pittsburgh is located on the north from south countries like Mexico, and temperature there more low.
It's colder in Pittsburgh?
Only.
Could be. Well, then they should do it in Alberta, Canada, or something like that. It could be. It is definitely cold in Pittsburgh, no doubt about it. I would say that it has an inner city, and a lot of people have serious trauma. And okay, maybe it's not as dangerous as Baltimore or Washington D.C. These are places that are kind of notoriously dangerous. But it's got an inner city, and there seem to be a lot of trauma victims. I would say that might be part of it. It's not explicit in the article, but that's what I would say, that part of the reason it's taking place there. Another part is they obviously have a really good hospital. It's not just any hospital. So that's another reason. And we talked about this before, but Giuseppe, what's hypothermia?
Hypothermia is when the body decreases the metabolism, the speed rate of the heart, the heartbeat.
Right. So we've slowed down the body enough that you're clinically dead. You've got no vital signs, and your temperature is half of what it should be. Hypothermia, low body temperature.
Low 19 degrees.
Right. That's it. And Anatoly, why might so-called therapeutic hypothermia save lives? Oh, this is obvious, right?
Because they can prolong time of life, and
Right.
in that case they are able, I mean doctors are able to save life, to make additional procedures.
Absolutely. So, Yuki, who's just joining us now, we just read an article about an experimental procedure that's very controversial. In a university hospital in Pittsburgh, I believe it's a university hospital in Pittsburgh, the procedure is to basically freeze the patient, which as Anatoly just said, will give doctors a lot more time, much more time, to figure out how to fix the problem that they have. These are only trauma patients. So right now we're just doing a summary of the article, Yuki, so you can get an idea of the issues involved. And then I've got a few thought experiments for us to try as a class. Okay? So as we answer these questions, we'll summarize the article and get to the main points that we need to think about. Giuseppe, who is funding the medical trial? Ooh, this is a big question. Do you remember who's funding it?
The Department of Defense.
Yeah, the Army.
The Army. The Army, well, because I think the Department of Defense, the proposal of the department is to create a new way to save his soldiers when they are in wars, for example.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if we live in a state of perpetual war, which seems like what we've been doing, since basically the beginning of the 20th century, well, we have to basically find new procedures to, especially because there's no draft. Soldiers are not expendable in America. They're volunteers. So they've tried to get around it by using drones, robots. But anyway, yes, you're right. The Army, the military has a strong interest in this procedure. It makes sense. And anatoly, who would be a candidate for this kind of procedure? Is it anybody? If I have a toothache, are they going to go and freeze me?
It could be people who are harmed seriously, and
Seriously,
they
right.
don't have a chance to live, except people who worn special bracelets.
Right. If you don't want the procedure in Pittsburgh, you have to wear one of these bracelets. But specifically, it's people who have lost a lot of blood, right? It's people who've lost a lot of blood. So they're risking serious brain damage, and they only have a few minutes to live if something isn't done. It's not anybody. But as we read in the article, this could easily be abused because the definitions are not quite so clear. It's supposed to be people with very serious problems, but it would be very, very easy to the lines of who gets in and who doesn't get in could easily be blurred, let's say. By the way, Yuki, there's definitely a problem with the Hangouts. I also had a problem today as well. So I think that there might be something going on with the Hangouts. I'm not sure. And remember, there were massive updates to Windows the day before yesterday, I think, or yesterday or the day before yesterday. So yeah, there were big updates to maybe not all the operating systems, but anyway, that might be another issue. Okay, just to finish up the questions, Giuseppe, what are the steps that doctors take during the procedure? What do you remember about the procedure itself?
Well, I remember that the bodies, the doctor drain the blood of the body.
Right, and
Drain the
replaces
blood
it with what?
and replace with salt water.
Yeah, saline solution, in other words.
Freeze salt water in order to cool down the body temperature.
And if you warm the body too quickly, the patient basically dies. Right? So how do they get around that problem? Like if you're freezing and they warm you up, well, the shock is gonna kill you. So how do they get around that problem? Do you remember?
Maybe they do alternatively warm up and cool down the body.
It's a very creative solution, but that's not what they said. And totally, do you remember? Do you remember how they?
Mm, mm, they use salt water and they uh, decrease temperature of the body.
Right. But how do they warm you back up without killing you? How did they warm you back up without killing you? Do you remember that detail from the article? It's
Mm,
not. We didn't talk about it, but it was there.
no, not sure.
All right. They used a machine. They use a machine that warms the blood slowly. So
Uh,
basically, you're warming up over a slow period of time as they begin to put the blood back in you, which they've taken out your blood, they've kept it in a machine that keeps it alive, keeps the blood cells alive, keeps it oxygenated, and then they feed it back into you, slowly increasing the temperature so that because if they mentioned something I don't remember. They mentioned something about oxygen hitting the blood, hitting the organs too quickly, or something. I can't remember the details, but it's in there. Basically, they warm you up using a machine slowly as they take out the saline solution. Um, okay, last three questions. When did the experiment officially begin? Has this been going on since Siberia in the 1950s with babies? When did it begin?
uh, this experiment.
Yeah, this one. Is this an old experiment?
Uh,
Just use what you remember about the article. We can go back and look if we want, but what do you remember?
it is an article about maybe uh, 1 year research.
Right, it's pretty recent. It's pretty recent, yeah. So within the last year, something like that. I think you're right. We can go back and check to make sure. How much success have researchers had with the medical technique when experimenting with dogs and pigs? So in the animal trials, were they successful? This goes to anyone who remembers.
Uh, yeah, they succeeded in experimenting in dogs and pigs,
How
especially
did they
dogs.
how did they know that they were successful? What was the evidence?
The evidence was that they put the dogs in procedure,
Right?
and after after that they try to return back the dogs and
They try
to
to resuscitate. Resuscitate.
resuscitate. Yes, they try to resuscitate, and then most of the dogs was involved into the procedure, getting life. Sorry.
But there's another detail as well. Another detail. The dogs could remember tricks that they were taught. So the evidence was they taught a dog a trick, they underwent the procedure. After the procedure, they tried to get the dog to do the trick, and 90% were recovered, and out of that, it seemed like, from what I gather, all of them were, or all of them, or nearly all of them, a very, very high percentage were able to remember the tricks. In other words, there was no cognitive damage. There was no brain damage from the experiment in the vast majority. So in the animal trials, it looked very, very successful. And finally, last question. How was the hospital able to obtain an exemption? This one, I don't know if this is obvious. We might want to take a look at this. What did the hospital do? Normally, you have to, oh, no, we did talk about this. So you should remember, normally, you can't just put someone in a trial without asking their permission. What did the hospital do? What was the tricky thing the hospital did to get around the rules? Do you remember what they did?
They hold meetings in the
They
university.
held meetings. Repeat, they held meetings in the past, right?
Yes, past campus, and they also organized advertisement on buses.
That's right. They did a marketing campaign,
They
as if
created
they were launching
website.
a new soft drink or something, right? As if they're launching a product. They did a marketing campaign, basically.
They conducted a phone survey.
Absolutely. So advertisements, phone survey for people who lived in the area. And how successful was that? Did everyone understand what was going on and everything was hunky-dory? Everything was great?
As I understood, they hoped to receive permission in the end of the year, in the last paragraph.
Sorry, say that again about permission? I didn't catch it.
They hoped to receive approval of the actions in the end of the year.
They hope to receive approval at the end of the year. Where is that? I don't remember that. You might be right.
Last paragraph.
The Dr. Scalea, who that paragraph?
Dr. Scalea said he hoped to receive final regulatory approval by the end of the year.
Yeah, but what was that for? What was that for, though? Final regulatory approval of what exactly? Maybe because I think there might be a. Let's see, because maybe Dr. Scalea was from a different hospital. Hang on just a second. Let me see if I can find Dr. Scalea, because I think that he's just an expert talking about it. Maybe I'm wrong. This is Star Wars stuff, trauma specialist at... No, see, he's at a different hospital, Anatoly. Look up here. He's at the University of Maryland. So in other words, he's trying to get approval for a different hospital based on the success of Pittsburgh. So basically, Pittsburgh did something which is possibly illegal. Possibly. They got around the rules by trying to basically advertise it and hope that that was enough. Yuki, how clear, without having read the article, how clear is the situation? So do you understand what the experiment was or is? And do you understand what the ethical problem is?
Now I'm reading the article, but now I understand that to remedy a traumatic patient, low temperature, trauma patient, low temperature method can be used.
Without their consent. That's the key idea. No one is giving permission to take part. They're doing it without permission.
Yes.
That's the controversial part. In other words, if you're going to die, if they think you're if they say you're going to die, they can enroll you in this this program, unless you have a special bracelet that says, I don't want to take part. But obviously, you have to know about the program in order to get the bracelet. So if you don't know about the program, you don't have the bracelet, they're just going to put you in it if you've had a serious wound. If they say, it's really up to them to determine whether you're a serious case or not. So that's the issue. Before we do a thought experiment, I'd like to ask everyone in the group, what are your feelings about this? If this was happening in your local hospital and you didn't know about it, and they did this procedure on you, would you be okay with it? Imagine they did this procedure on your mother. Would you be okay with it? What do you think?
I think if it were very emergency situation, I would want every method can be taken to 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 save my mother's life. So even such a advanced technology can be used. I wish it were applied to my mother's case.
But it would take possibly 7 days for your mother to come out of a coma after the procedure. It could take an hour, it could take a week. She might never recover, or she might recover and never be really conscious again. I mean, her body might recover, she might stay in a coma, or she might come out with some degree of brain damage. Because think about it, they have purposely frozen your mother. So she's been there for, probably 60 minutes, maybe more, without oxygen, without a heartbeat. So, would it be worth it? So would you be okay if your mother survived but was in a coma? And with, it's been a week and your mother is still unconscious. Would that be okay?
Of course, it would be terrible waiting a week, recovering my mother's conscious. But I think there would be no other option. If there were no other option, I would select.
Oh, but there is an option. There is an option. So this is one thing the article says. They have a choice. They can do emergency surgery, and they have a very short window of time, maybe 5 minutes. So in other words, it's something like this. You've gotten shot or you've gotten into a car accident. You've lost a lot of blood. By the time you get to the hospital, you've got 5...
It is written that in conventional method, only one in 10 cases would be survived. So
yeah, there's a high risk, but you do have a choice. They do have a choice. Perform surgery normally, and they've got to be very fast, but you're going to recover a lot faster. If you recover, you'll recover faster. Of course, you've lost a lot of blood, so that's an issue. You could have brain damage from not having enough blood in your brain. That's why they got to do it really fast. But there is a choice. Or the key here is that they don't want to rush the surgery. They want to have as much time as they can take. So they freeze you, and that gives them, instead of 5 minutes, an hour, possibly more, right? So they have a lot more time to work on you. But the result is that you're going to be without oxygen for a very long time. So they have to hope that nearly freezing you slows down your metabolism so much that because basically your brain cells don't need oxygen if they're very cold. So they do have a choice, though. They do have a choice.
But maybe I would have a very little time to make a selector. Yeah. In 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're the doctor deciding. You're not the patient.
Patient would be in coma. So I would select the option in such a short time, in 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not you, the doctor.
Doctor, but okay. So it means the doctor would select on their decision without consulting with
anyone, consulting nobody.
Of course.
And not being sued for it, because the hospital got around the law, so that no one could be sued. Or they could be, but it would have to go to the Supreme Court because they've gone around the federal guidelines. So basically, no repercussions. unless it went all the way to the Supreme Court. I mean, it's possible. But for the moment, they got around the normal consent laws. Well, here's the question. If you have to decide, listen, we all know that decision-making is anything but objective. No one makes objective decisions. It's not possible. There's a guy who won the Nobel Prize. What's his name? Daniel Kaufman? I forgot his last name. The guy who won the Nobel Prize in 2011 for, I think it was economics. It was weird. He's a psychologist, but he didn't win. He didn't win the literature award. I think it was in economics for some reason. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't remember. He won the Nobel Prize for his book, Thinking Fast and Slow. Have you heard about that book? I'll see if I can give you a link.
I have heard about the book. It was quite famous.
Yeah, it's really, really well known.
But I haven't read.
It's Kahneman, Daniel Kahneman. So he is one of these early cognitive scientists, kind of in the era of Chomsky, when cognitive science took off. Here's a link in the chat window to Wikipedia. Oh, let's see if I can put it there. There you go. And the gist of the book, yeah, he won the Nobel Prize in economics, which is really odd for a guy who is basically a psychologist. The gist of the book is that he seemed to have uncovered two cognitive systems that we were not really aware of, or we weren't aware of the extent to which they worked. These come directly from biology. One cognitive system is an instinctual one that animals all seem to share. What's called the fast thinking system, where basically we are not consciously aware of a decision, we make it on instinct, and we do it instantly. Then we have a second system, which is more human, a more recent evolutionary development, where we think about it, we use our judgment, and that's done in the cerebral cortex, and it's the slow thinking. And the problem is that we think that we use the slow thinking. That's what we think of thinking. We think we use the slow thinking all the time. And his research showed that we rarely use it. In fact, what we think are deliberate decisions are not. And he gave countless examples of this. Let me see if I can give you just one. I don't. In the Wikipedia article, they probably will have the famous one about the bat and the ball. Let me see if I can find it. And he called these biases. Let me see if they have one here, because I don't remember it offhand. But basically, he gave people choices that appear to be obvious but weren't. Give me just a second here. No, they don't really have it. I'll see if I can find it. The one was about a bat and a ball. You're given a price to buy these different things to play sports, and people always made the wrong choice because they weren't thinking. They were doing the thing that seemed cheaper and better, but it wasn't. Give me a second here. Bat and ball. Thinking slow. Maybe I can find the experiment for you. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, here it is. I found it for you. I'll give this one to you. I'll see if I can give you the link, but let me explain it first, okay? Give me a second because I'm just opening the page. It's a little bit slow. Hang on just a second here. Well, you know what? Here's a good explanation here. The two systems. System one is, for lack of a better term, your intuitive self, your associational engine. System two, that's slow thinking, for lack of a better term, is your rational self, your logical computer. System one has been honed by millions of years of evolution and to be very clever, very spontaneous. The animal mind that each and every one of us relies on to make it through the day. In other words, you don't have time to think about everything. You have to just react. So we're using it constantly. System one is the fast thinker. System two is the slow thinker. System 2 allocates attention to effortful activities such as complex computations, problems of agency, choice, judgment, and concentration. It is also extremely lazy. If System 2 can get away with not having to work and rely upon the mental activities of System 1, it will. This lies at the heart of practically every cognitive illusion and fallacy we operate under. So let me see if I can give the example. Give me just a second because I have the answer, but I want to find the question. Give me just a second here. Here it is. Okay, I'm going to give you the question. I'll put it in the chat window as well, so you can read along as well. Actually, Anatoly, why don't you read that for us? Can you see the question I posted there?
A bat and a ball. This question, yes?
That's right, yeah.
A bat and a ball together cost $1.10.
We say $1.10. $1.10.
$1.10. The bat is $1 more than the ball. How much does the ball cost?
Okay. So how much does the ball cost? You don't have time to think. You just have to make a quick decision. How much does the ball cost? Let me get your answers.
The ball cost 10 cents.
The ball cost 10 cents. Okay? So I'm going to put...
No, but maybe 9. 99. 10 cents. 15 cents, maybe.
How much? Second guess is how much?
15.
15 cents. Okay, so we got two guesses, one for 10 cents, one for 15 cents. Giuseppe, Yuki, want to give a guess? Or can you solve the problem quickly?
Why 15 cents? I don't understand.
What? What?
Why it costs 15 cents?
I don't know, but we're making a quick guess. So what do you think it costs? Remember, the bat and the ball together cost $1.10. So what? And the bat is $1 more than the ball. So it should be pretty obvious, right? I got this completely wrong, by the way. I got this totally wrong.
According with my decision weight system 1, I soon I could answer 10 cents. Ball cost is 10 cents. Yeah.
Makes sense. That's $1 more than 1.10. It's 10 cents.
But if think thoroughly, maybe you bought not only one ball, but some balls. So maybe one ball costs less than 10 cents.
What's your guess? We have to put a concrete number, though. What's your guess?
Maybe you can buy 5 balls. Each ball cost 2 cents, maybe.
But why would there be more than one ball? I'm not following that. I'm not following why there would be more than one, because there's only one.
Only one?
Yeah.
So it must be 10 cents, no?
I don't know. Let's find out. Giuseppe, do you want to give a guess? Giuseppe is busy. Okay. Giuseppe, this is your last chance to give a guess. Are you there? Giuseppe? Come on, turn on your mic. Don't be afraid. Okay, you want the answer? Or do you want to think about it a little bit?
We don't have a right answer.
You don't have a right answer?
Yes, because it is impossible to...
There absolutely is a right answer. There absolutely is a right answer.
Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. you want me to tell you what it is?
It is a wrong conditional.
No, it's just a misleading question, but it. So, do you want a minute to work it out, or shall I give you the answer? What do you prefer?
Maybe buyer could have a discount some
There's no, there's no discount. There's no discount.
If
It's
you
just-
buy ball and bat together,
no,
maybe
no,
you
no, 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 no,
no?
no. It's just math. It's just a math problem. There's no
So-
tricky discounts. No, no, no.
So it have to be 10 cents.
No, it's not 10 cents. Of
No?
course not. No. Because that's what it sounds like. Okay, I'll tell you the answer. Here's the answer. Take a look in the chat window. Actually, Yuki, why don't you read the answer for us? Can you see it?
Answer. First thing, the ball costs 10 cents.
Everyone thinks it costs 10 cents. Not everyone, but I did.
It's system A, yeah?
Right.
System B, system 2. Slow think if x is the amount, if x is the amount of the ball, then x plus $1 equal $1.10. $1.10. Then 2x.
2 times.
2 times equal $1.10 minus $1, then x equal 5 cents.
The answer is 5 cents.
Yeah.
That's the actual answer. The problem is, I think the problem is because it sounds like an easier problem to solve the way it's worded. It just sounds easy. It sounds very obvious because you can just see, oh, take away the 10 cents.
It means he bought 2 balls, no?
No, there's no 2 balls. No, it's a bat and the ball. It's exactly the way it says. But the problem is our brain wants to find the easiest solution. And you look at it and you think, oh, $1 is more than $1.10, but it's not that simple. So there's only one bat and there's only one ball. There's no special trickery, nothing like that. It's just pure math. But it's not as simple as it seems because you really have to think about it.
This is written. The ball is $1 more than the ball.
The what? The bat is $1 more than the ball, isn't it?
Yes.
The bat is $1 more than the ball, right? Does it make sense? Anatoly, does it make sense?
Yes, I solved also this.
Tell me about your equation there.
I put 2 equation, base equation, A plus B. A, it is cost of bat, and B, cost of ball. A plus B, it is $1.10.
So bat and ball equals 110.
Yes,
right.
And the second equation, A minus B, $1.
Bat minus ball equals $1.
In that case, we can find what is A. A, it is $1 plus B. And we put this equation to the first equation. And we received a new formula, 1 plus 2 how it's times B is equivalent $1.10, or we can simplify it to B equivalent 10 cents. And
right. I see what you mean. Yeah. But the problem is I'm so bad at math. it makes perfect sense when you explain it. But I really, because I can see what you're doing, but I wouldn't have been able to figure that out on my own. Because I just don't have those skills. It's what, basic algebra, right? Maybe not even. Maybe that's just adding and subtracting. I have subtraction, addition's tricky friend. It's shameful, isn't it? Anyway, there you go. The reason I'm talking about this is because of this. Doctors are in a stressful situation. They have to make a decision. They absolutely, they Yuki and I are both confused. Yes. No, but if you look at his equation, it really makes sense. His equation makes perfect sense. But I would never have come up with that. I just wouldn't have come up with it. When I see it done, I understand it, but I couldn't have come up with it on my own. But do you understand his equation, Yuki? Do you understand what the equation he wrote in the chat window? Yuki?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because when he explains it, I got it, but I don't know. For some reason, I can't think of a more common sense way to think about it other than doing an equation. I don't know. I don't know why it's so complicated. But anyway, everyone, including mathematics majors at MIT, got this wrong. Like the vast majority of people used the fastest thinking system. How does this relate to our hospital? Well, I think it relates because we've got two issues at the hospital. One, doctors are under stress. Two, the majority of patients are black males in an urban setting who are getting shot from domestic violence or drug-related things or gang things or whatever. I mean, there's a predominance of African American males going to the hospital. So those two issues together, being under stress, having to make a decision, and the fact that the doctors tend to be white and the patients tend to be black, lead to a very thorny issue. To what degree are they going to be using their slow thinking to make a good decision? And to what degree are they going to be making a fast decision, one that could lead to a very racist experiment? And the example that I gave you was called the Tuskegee experiment. You probably haven't heard of this, although it's a really famous case. The Tuskegee experiment was an experiment in, I believe, the 1950s. I'll see if I can give you a link to it. Where basically, oh, you can see it in Wikipedia actually. Basically, it was a government program to infect healthy men in Tuskegee, Michigan with syphilis and kill them. There was the only reason to do it. They wanted to study the effects of syphilis, so they couldn't do it on people. It's not ethical. So during that period of time, oh, look, it goes back to 1930s. It says 1930, conducted between 1932 and 1972. The long and short of it was that they infected these people. They were all black men in Tuskegee, Mississippi, I'm sorry. And they gave them placebo medication. Now, it's possible that they thought that they were doing the right thing. And obviously, this was not a fast and slow thinking case. They had decades to think about what they were doing. But since they were dealing with poor black sharecroppers in, it says, oh, the article says it's in Alabama. I thought it was in Mississippi. Poor black people in Alabama. But the point was, whatever they thought they were doing, whatever they claimed to be doing, in the end, they were basically using these people as experimental subjects without their consent. And nearly all of them died. A few lived, but with serious problems. Syphilis causes brain damage and many other things. So that's just one example you can read about. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying that that's going to happen at all. It's not that similar. But I'm saying it's a slippery slope. That's a good term in English. Have you heard that expression? Ooh, that was loud. Have you heard that expression? Slippery slope. I'll put it in the chat window. Do you know what that means? Slippery slope.
No.
If someone says, go ahead, Yuki.
It's a very dangerous route, yeah?
Yeah. If someone says that's a slippery slope, it's a
So
slippery slope.
you would be falling down
You'd be
easily.
easy to fall down. Absolutely.
So
Easy to fall down.
you are talking about decision decision one, yeah, system one.
I'm talking about it would be so easy to switch to system one,
Yes.
fast thinking, in that high pressure situation. And the result is you may have a very racist experiment going on because there's no consent and all the patients are black and all the doctors are white. To put it simply, I know it's not quite that simple. Because they'd be using system one thinking that they're using system two, but they're not. Probably they wouldn't have time.
But I think in the very limited circumstances, like in such a case,
we don't use such.
Like this case,
right.
In emergency room, I think there is no option at the system one, so we have to. Doctors have to make a decision very quickly.
True.
Sometimes it depends on his hunch. He has to make a decision quickly and concisely. So
hunch is a good word, by the way. Hunch is an educated guess.
Yes. Every day we have to make a decision, some things, and I myself, it is very difficult for me to make a decision. It is my weak point, but if I make a decision with my hunch, it would be correct. There are many such cases, so I understand the logical. In some cases, logical way of thinking is needed, but in all, but we can, but they don't work in every cases.
Let me give you a quick example of something that you would think was an obvious thing, a decision, but wasn't. I remember reading about a procedure in hospitals where they started to use, you probably know that antibiotics are becoming less effective, and we could reach a point where they just don't work because they're being overused. And you're finding people going in for a simple procedure in a hospital and dying because of superbugs, of germs that live on the walls of the hospital, and if you get infected, there's no way to treat them, right? Well, one of the problems, one solution for that was a very odd solution. Hospitals began to give doctors a checklist of what they needed to do before and after surgery, and they literally had to tick the boxes of a checklist. Mm-hmm. I don't remember where this was. I just was something I was reading about. The percentage of deaths dropped significantly enough to draw the conclusion that doctors thought they had done simple things like wash their hands. They hadn't. By ticking the boxes, they literally had to adhere to procedure that they knew perfectly well. They've been doing this for 10, 15, 20 years. But simple things like they thought they had washed their hands and they had forgotten. Or, you know what I'm saying? So hunches are right. Absolutely, I agree with you. But the point is, they're not aware that they're not making the decisions. They thought that they were, and they weren't. Something as simple as wash your hands before you do an operation. And things like that weren't getting done. Just double check things. So a simple thing like putting a checklist that you had to look at before you went in made a difference. They saw a significant change in how patients were treated and whether in some cases they lived or died. I wish I could remember where I was reading this, because it was not about medical stuff, it was about productivity, and it was an example of why to-do lists are a good idea. But it was used in hospitals. Very interesting idea.
I understand checklist would help it would help. But I think in many cases there is. But first of all, there would be no time, and a doctor have to think many things about around the case, around the case. So such a
We don't use such. We don't use such.
Methodetic.
No such. Don't say such.
Ah,
Not such a method. We don't say such.
this kind of method.
Good.
Way, I think in many cases doesn't help. I think experience, only experience of doctor does work in such a case. No.
Well, that's what everyone thinks. I have a lot of experience adding and subtracting, but I got the bat and ball problem wrong too. So I've got 40 years of experience adding and subtracting. Listen, we have to stop because we're a little bit over time. Anton, did you want to say something? I got your messages. Did you want to?
Yeah. No, I was only entry to learn something. And to.
Oh, but you came in so late. You came in so late. You missed the article.
Yeah. I'm too busy. I'm preparing my test, and I only entry some classes and sometimes whenever I can.
All right. Well, I'm sorry. We've got to stop though. But I got your messages. Okay, I wrote back and everything.
Okay.
All right. So listen, we're going to stop now. I hope that, listen, if you haven't read the article, read it. It's very interesting. The one that I posted, the one that we talked about this hour and the hour before. And it's something we can follow up on. I've got a whole bunch of little thought experiments we could try to talk about medical ethics. No, not about medical ethics, about ethics in general, specifically bioethics. So it might be interesting to do a few classes, a few of these hot topic classes, at least one more, but maybe a few of these on different aspects of bioethics, because it's not as straightforward as you may think. So we'll see what we can do. I didn't get to the thought experiment, so maybe next Friday we can focus on those. You should read Peter Singer too if you haven't read Peter Singer. That's one of the more famous contemporary, he's been around for a long time, but one of the more famous contemporary philosophers on bioethics. And was a bit controversial because he comes out with things at particular moments, like around security. He was noted for his comments during Katrina and 9/11 and state security, things like that, talking about the ethical implications of policies, and he was very controversial for those reasons. So I'd like to get some articles by him that we can take a look at, because they're not as obvious as they may seem. It's very interesting to see what kind of biases you have that you didn't realize after reading one of these articles. So maybe next Friday we can pick up on a different theme with bioethics and talk about it a bit. I hope that if you like that idea, send me a message so I know you're interested, okay? We can try that. I'm going to go. I'll be back Monday morning bright and early for the pronunciation class at 10 and 11 GMT for a brand new topic in a brand new level for our business class. We're starting level B2, upper intermediate, just so you know. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now, everyone.
Okay,
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.